Now, the regime change may have happened in Damascus, but the aftershocks are being felt in Tehran. Make no mistake, this is a body blow for Iran. They had just one state ally in the region, and that was Bashar al-Assad. The rest are armed groups and ragtag militias like the Hezbollah in Lebanon or the Houthis in Yemen. So Assad's ouster is a big setback for the Iranian regime. Their foreign minister put the blame on Assad's army. He said they failed in their duty.
The Syrian army failed to carry out its duty. We were never supposed to replace the Syrian army in resolving their domestic affairs or fighting the opposition. Our battlefield presence in Syria was for fighting the ISIS and was ended after IS was defeated. We were also there to support the resistance.
So Iran says it wasn't our fight, which is frankly a plain lie. Iran's support to Assad is well documented. In 2012, their top military officers visited Syria. They found Assad's regime teetering. And that's when Tehran decided to intervene. They have invested between $30 and $50 billion in Syria. They've also deployed thousands of fighters, and not just their own. Iran has also convinced, or did convince, Hezbollah to send their men. So Tehran cannot distance itself from this debacle. It's very much their failure, and it could not have come at a worse time. Iran's regional axis is already weakened. In Gaza, Hamas is out of power. Israel has dismantled most of their capabilities. Up north in Lebanon, Hezbollah is also struggling. Reports say they lost some 4,000 fighters in the war with Israel, plus a number of top leaders. Israel took them out with pager bombs. These were all major blows to the Iranian regime, but Assad's fall is more devastating than all of this. And I'll give you two reasons why. Number one, Assad was a president. He had legitimacy, unlike Iran's other proxies. And number two, Syria's location. It was the link between Iran and its proxies. Look at the map. From Iran, weapons and supplies would go to Iraq. From Iraq, the supplies would enter Syria. And from Syria, they would enter Lebanon. That's where the Hezbollah would collect them. Now, I know what you're thinking. If Assad was so important, why did Iran not help him? The obvious explanation is they were too stretched. Hezbollah was busy with the war, and Iran was focused on Israel, so neither party could spare the support. It has revealed a major weakness of the Iranian regime, their inability to protect their allies. Consider what happened to former Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh. He was killed inside Tehran. And now another ally has been left to his fate. This is probably the weakest Iran's regime has looked in decades, both internally and externally. Inside Iran, there is discontent about the economy. Outside, its regional axis is fading. So what can the regime do? A lot of experts fear a nuclear escalation. The UN atomic watchdog raised the alarm last week. It said Iran is planning to increase its stockpile of nuclear weapons-grade uranium. And the logic is quite simple here. The Axis was Iran's tool of deterrence and power projection. They spent many years building it up. If that axis weakens, Iran needs an alternative, another tool to deter and scare its rivals, which could be nuclear weapons. In the meantime, expect escalation from Iran's remaining proxies, especially the Houthis in Yemen. On Monday, they fired drones at central Israel. One of them struck a home in the city of Yavne. So Iran does have options to keep up the fight, but what they choose could also depend on Israel and Donald Trump. Netanyahu has always talked about toppling the Iranian regime. He may sense an opportunity here.
Assad's regime is a central link in Iran's axis of evil. This regime has fallen. This is a direct result of the blows we inflicted on Iran and Hezbollah, the main supporters of Assad's regime. This created a chain reaction throughout the Middle East.
He's talking about a chain reaction, but if that reaction reaches Tehran, expect them to lash out. The next year, all eyes will be on Donald Trump, on whether he imposes more sanctions on Iran. And if he does, the regime will fear internal discontent, which is another recipe for instability. It's been a very bad year for Iran and its allies in West Asia. But at this point, 2025 could be worse.